Good evening, everybody. I feel like we owe you guys a bit of an apology because not only have we been late getting our recent episodes up, sorry about that, but we also missed last night. So sorry to disappoint you guys, but we are back better than ever on a Wednesday night, live at 9 p.m. Central. I'm so glad to be here with you guys to talk a little liberty. I'm your host, Token, joined with my partner in crime, Mr. Dustin Hobbs. Congressman Dustin Hobbs, that voter fraud suit is going forward, and he will be installed as your next congressman. QAnon has assured me of this, so get ready for that.
Yes. Trust the plan.
There's a plan. Hobbs will be your next congressman, and after that, president of the United States. So we will hold out for that. Donald Trump is going to personally make Dustin Hobbs president. It's going to be absolutely glorious. So thank you guys for joining. You all right there, buddy?
Yeah. Just answering some questions off screen.
Oh, very, very nice. Well, I feel like we should start this episode off with an announcement because me and Hobbs are both have decided to come out as part of the LGBTQS community. We are both S's, and we are proud of it, and no one can tell us otherwise.
Right. Yes. It's it has been very hard being about this, but now that the movement is it's out there, it's in the open. I believe that we can finally take our place amongst the aggrieved minorities as super straight.
We just can't keep living a lie.
No, it's not enough. It's not enough to pretend to be just straight. No. It's super straight.
And we have to be honest with our audience. We got to let you guys know what's going on. We would never deceive you.
More so than being honest with the audience, though, I think we have to be true to ourselves and our own lived experiences.
I absolutely really agree.
Important. I can't speak for you, but I know for myself, it feels so good to live my truth.
So what are we talking about here? What is this super straight thing? Now, I found out about this super straight fad going on when I opened up Twitter on Saturday morning. I drove down to KC for a nice day of paintballing in a cave, which was very unique. I've never done that before. It was very fun. But I left that morning and I get on Twitter and I start looking at what's trending, and I look at him like, super straight? What the fuck is super straight? And I get on it. Apparently what super straight is a new sexual orientation. And what it means is that you are attracted exclusively to members of the opposite sex. Because here's where the jokes, well, I guess it's not a joke.
That are born that way.
That are born that way. See, here's what it's all about. A lot of times you'll hear stories about how straight individuals are really just they're transphobic because they won't date, like if you're a man and you won't date a trans woman, well, this makes you a transphobe because obviously a trans woman is a real woman. And how can you say you're straight if you're not attracted to women? So it has become necessary to start identifying as super straight in order to make clear what you're talking about when you say you're a straight human being. Super straight, attracted exclusively to members of the opposite sex who were born of the opposite sex. So
right, yeah,
there you go.
Kind of came up because there was some argument being floated around that if trans women are women attracted to trans women, then you're not really straight. So this guy's like, well, then what am I? I'm super straight. That's what he came up with.
Double plus straight.
It's double plus straight. To me, the whole argument is silly because there's just certain things that some people don't find attractive. As a super straight individual myself, I can say that I'm not even attracted to all cisgendered women. Obviously,
no, there's a lot, in fact, that are
that
we don't find attractive.
Yes, you can be a cisgendered woman who's, say, like morbidly obese or has bad personal hygiene or any number of things, and I just don't find you attractive. For the same vein, I don't find penises attractive, even if they are female penises, which sounds really weird. Yes.
Yeah, remember we were talking. Remember back near the beginning of the show, we had an episode about what was it? John? Who?
John.
Do you remember this?
John Yaniv, and I am so glad you brought it up because we said at the very beginning of one of our first episodes, we were talking about how at least up in Canada, bake the cake bigot, grease the slippery slope bigot, and you made the comment of, well, how long is it going to be until wax the balls bigot slides all? And here's your answer: this long. This is how long it took.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is. It's just people trying to gaslight you into being like, oh, well, you won't date a trans woman. You must be some kind of horrible bigot, terrible human being. And it's like, no, penises don't do it for me. So, oh well. Yep. And if you want to call me a transphobe for that, then I mean, okay, go ahead. I've been called worse. It doesn't bother me. Like, if that's what makes you a transphobe, then I guess I am one. And oh well, I'm not gonna feel bad about it.
Yeah, it's
like like that's something I should feel bad about. Like, oh no, I'm a bad person for not wanting to suck a dick. Like, oh no, I don't feel like a bad person for that. I feel just fine, as a matter of fact. I feel, you might say that I feel super, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, and I'm just having way too much fun seeing the absolute meltdown.
Oh, dude, it was glorious. It was glorious. It's just, I'm scrolling through the hashtag on Twitter, and it's just epic meltdown after epic meltdown. I couldn't believe my eyes. It really showed off the victimhood complex the trans community does indeed have, because it's just a joke. It's just a funny joke making fun of woke ideology and transgender activism. That's what it's doing. It's making fun of it. It's using the language of trans rights activists against them to show them how absurd it looks to people who aren't in on it, right? Like, oh, you just like it's the thing. They make up sexualities all the time. There's like a billion different types of sexualities that are just made up. But someone makes up a super straight sexuality, and all of a sudden, you can't do that. That's transphobic. You're a Nazi bigot. Yeah. It's like, well, if you can do it, anyone can do it. And if someone wants to make a sexuality that says that they are attracted exclusively to cisgendered members of the opposite sex, then okay. Who's to say that that's invalid? I mean, if you want to insist that every single gender and sexuality you make up is valid, and so is this. I'm sorry, you can't have it both ways.
Yep, and traveling down the same road, we also have the super gay and super lesbian, which falls into the same thing. Is gay guys that are exclusively attracted to cisgendered men, and lesbians that are exclusively attracted to cisgendered women, and there's nothing wrong with that either, because apparently, especially with the super lesbian thing, there is a bit of an epidemic, you could say, of trans women or guys who want to be women. I keep getting them backwards. It's like trans women are the men who want to be women, right? That's how.
Yes.
I always get them mixed up. Well, anyways, it's the dudes who want to be women are going to like lesbian bars or on lesbian dating sites and trying to pick up women, lesbians. And when the lesbian finds out that this is a pre-op transsexual, a person with a dick, they're like, no, thank you, that's not for me. And then it's like, you're a transphobe. You don't want to suck my lady cock. And it's like, dude, this is like one step, like a half step below rape. Like forcing yourself on somebody who's not interested in you by using,
it's creepily close.
yeah, it is. It's like using mental manipulation to force yourself on someone who's not interested. At that point, it's almost rape. It's just almost there.
Now, no means no, dude.
Yeah.
No means no. And if no, if you start trying to manipulate someone into sleeping with you by calling them a filthy bigot, that doesn't make you better, right? Like, and that's the thing. Then they'll claim victimhood. Like, oh, man, no, these people won't date me. It's like, you're not a victim. You're not the victim. Why are you pretending to be? You're trying to get somebody who's not interested in you to be with you out of guilt of being a bigot.
Yep.
Like, yeah, you're a piece of shit. Shut the fuck up. And it was so funny seeing the meltdown after meltdown after meltdown. A whole lot of people being like, if you identify as super straight, I will kill you. I hope you die. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, shit, I haven't. See, here's the thing. I've never wished death or harm or anything bad upon any of these people. But apparently, if you identify as super straight, they want you to literally die. It's like, well, that doesn't make much sense. That doesn't ingratiate me to your cause. Yep. So why are you doing it? It's very strange.
Not only that, but targeted harassment towards a sexual minority is a violation of Twitter's terms of.
Well, yeah, it is. Not, most straight people don't identify as super straight. So yeah, super straights are a sexual minority, and this cannot be tolerated. I demand that Twitter cancel these people.
Yep. Yeah, the great thing about this whole thing, this is very similar to the Islam is right about women and it's okay to be white thing that popped up last year, because for years, decades even, people on the cultural right, conservatives, right libertarians, have struggled in vain, banging their head against a wall, trying to use logical, sound arguments to counter the absurdity of the woke left and their ever-shifting mercurial positions on literally everything. And what's great about stuff like Super Straight and It's Okay to Be White and stuff like that is that it's taking their own language and their own absurdity, turning it on its head, and when they come at you with you can't do that, and you say, why? You do it all the time. And it's different when we do it, and it's there it is. Now you're in this Kafka trap that the more you fight it, the more guilty you look, the more absurd your position is, and the more it falls apart. Because when you're arguing with these people about these sorts of things, you're not trying to change their mind. It's for the benefit of everyone watching the argument. And that is how these absurdist arguments are so powerful. Ridicule is the most powerful weapon in the arsenal.
Yeah, because you're not going to change their mind. That's what you have to realize from the outset. You're not going to change their mind with these sort of tactics, right? They're going to continue being ridiculous and saying stupid things and trying to force their stupid ideology upon you. But remember, the more you laugh at them, the more angry they get, the more crazy they get, and the more idiotic they look to outsiders looking in. So keep doing what you're doing, super straights. You're going to win this argument, I guarantee you. Now let's talk about something that's a little less super. Across the pond over in Mario, England, they're having a little old controversy over there. Now, as red-blooded Americans, we have been raised to absolutely detest the royal family in the United Kingdom and not give a shit about them. And rest assured, we still do not give a shit about the royal family. But I think, the recent controversy going on over there is humorous enough to comment on. And there's a few points that I want to make that I've only seen one other person make. And that person was Michael Malice. So I'm pretty awesome that me and him had the same exact thought at the same exact time and decided to tweet about it. He got a lot more reactions than we did, but this just means that we need to get more followers on Twitter. By the way, if you're listening to this podcast, get on our Twitter and follow it. I'm getting tired of having hot take after hot take and nobody seeing it. So get on there and like my tweets.
Yeah, anyways, I think I know where you're going with this.
Anyway, so Miss Meghan Markle, a royal princess, decided to get on to do an interview with Oprah Winfrey. You might know Oprah Winfrey. She's the incredibly marginalized, most famous person in America, one of the richest women in the entire world. You know, marginalized Oprah Winfrey. Got an interview with her and essentially talked mad shit about the royal family being horrible, terrible, no good, very bad racist. While Prince Harry sat next to her and went, yes, that's all true. All that is very true. Apparently, one of the accusations that she leveled against the royal family is one of the members of the royal family, didn't say who, but one of them once asked how dark her baby would be when they were born. Now, let's make one thing straight. That is an incredibly rude and insensitive question to ask somebody. Anybody with a bit of manners knows that you don't ask something like that, right? Now, could it be racist? Yes, it can be. It can be racist. At worst, it's mildly racist, right? But at best, it's a jackass asking a jackass question. And considering the fact that this is the most insulated and privileged family in human history, it wouldn't surprise me at all that they're all jackasses and ask jackass questions because they don't understand the social context of things. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all that someone would in the royal family would ask that and not even realize they're sounding racist.
Yeah, that's the thing, you know, and what was the context? You know, if it was just, you know, sitting around, you know, having tea with their pinky up or whatever, you know, if whoever this was turned to her and said something like, "Oi, how dark is your baby gonna be?" You know, that is pretty insensitive. But if they're just sitting around, you know, chatting like, "Oh, I wonder what your baby is going to look like. Is the baby going to be a darker complexion like you, or do you think it's going to take more after the father?" Context matters, and they blew this whole thing into, you know, the royal families. Are they? Maybe, probably. You know,
well, because when they do that, they get to cash in on the victimhood points. Like, it's amazing to me that this woman, who is a B-list actress on a B-list show, right, that nobody ever heard about, married a prince, right, married into a royal family, and is now angling herself as a victim. A victim! She's a fucking princess! A princess of the United Kingdom, and she's one of the...
Not anymore.
Well, not officially, but yeah, she married a prince, for Christ's sake, right? These people are incredibly wealthy, right? Incredibly famous, right? But, you know, they're also marginalized, such victims. Oh, poor them. You know, it's just ridiculous. But the point I wanted to make out of all of this is I've been watching the controversy. I've been seeing the coverage. It's blown up way out of proportion. It has become huge news, right? You would think that one of the royal family members was accused of pedophilia, seeing as how big this story has become. Oh, wait a minute. Wasn't there something like that happened a couple years ago? Something in the vein of one of the royal family members hanging around with a known pedophile and visiting him even after this known pedophile got arrested for child trafficking?
Certainly, you must be mistaken. You must be mistaken, because the news media would have told us about this.
I obviously, my memory has to be wrong. It has to be wrong, because the reaction that this mild accusation of racism, and let me make this very clear, it is a very very mild accusation of racism.
It's
right?
kind of an insinuation of it. It's not really even an accusation. It's just like in there, kind of like, yeah, they might have said some racist shit,
Yeah, it's on the borderline. Could be racist, could not be racist. It's all about how you want to interpret it. But seeing how much controversy this has caused, it amazes me how little how little attention the fact that Prince Andrew, one of the royal family members, was a good friend of Jeffrey fucking Epstein. You remember Jeffrey Epstein? He's the multi-billionaire
he didn't kill himself.
Who was murdered in his cell, most likely by either Hillary Clinton or the Queen of England. We haven't decided on which one. Probably in tandem. They probably were both in on the act. But he was the billionaire pedophile murdered in his cell after he was arrested for child trafficking. Right, and this is a guy who was this is a guy who would sell young girls to rich and powerful men, in order to have blackmail on them, right? And Prince Andrew, member of the royal family, was good buddies with Jeff Epstein. He even been to visit him after he got arrested for child trafficking. Prince Andrew is almost certainly a pedophile. He has almost certainly raped young girls. All right. But what is the royal family in trouble for? What is the royal family possibly going down for? Mild accusations of racism, right? What has done more damage to the royal family? One of their members being a pedophile or a mild accusation of racism? Which has done more damage? It's the racism, right? That right there really has to show you how backwards the priorities of this society really are.
I left my Clown World horn, my bicycle horn in my dresser drawer, so I can't give us a good old honk for Clown World over here. But yeah, it's the absurdity of the fact that an American white passing B-list actress who is like 40 years old and a divorcee somehow has a Prince of England on a leash. The leash is wrapped around this man's balls. Like, she has him thoroughly whipped, and is now taking the royal family, one of the probably the longest serving monarchy on the planet, I think. A family with 1,000 years in one of the world's last superpowers, and this strumpet is taking, like, how absurd, how comical is our world right now that this train of events is even. And you're talking about Prince Andrew being a pedophile, and Jeffrey Epstein's modus operandi was compromising powerful individuals. On a serious note, I want to know what Meghan Markle has on Prince Harry, because with all of her list of faults, there ain't no pussy in the world that's that good. She has him thoroughly under her control. So there's gotta be like a video of him like raping a kid or something.
No, not maybe. I mean, there could be, but it's not outside of the realm of possibility that he's just bought into the woke cult, right?
Well,
I mean, that's not outside the realm of possibility. He's cashing in. He's making his family out to be victims of racism, which makes you woke royalty.
Right. Yes.
That's currency in today's society.
There's also the possibility that Prince Harry is not actually of royal blood. And this is something that I was completely unaware of until I saw a video. Sargon of Akkad, he started up his own new podcast. He's kind of dropped the whole Sargon personality, and he started a new podcast called Podcast of the Lotus Eaters. And I watched I watched a segment on it yesterday or maybe this morning that they talked about how Princess Di, way back in the day in the 80s, had an affair with a guy. I think he was like a tennis player or something.
Oh, this Royals have just the craziest affairs.
Yeah, and they showed a picture of this tennis player who is allegedly Harry's actual father, and a picture of Prince Harry, and a picture of Prince Charles. And the picture of the tennis player and Prince Harry look like the same fucking picture. It's like Justin Trudeau in between Fidel Castro and Pierre Trudeau. There's no question. A simple DNA test could clean this whole thing up, but royalty.
I didn't even realize that this was a thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, why would I? Why would I care about the lineage of Prince fucking Harry? I mean,
because we live in fucking America.
Damn right. Damn right we do. I do have to say it is kind of funny seeing an American taking down the royal family a peg, even if it's for the stupidest reasons. America is still beating up on the royals. God bless America.
Somewhere in the distance, a bald eagle screeches.
Wait, are you saying Princess D cheated? Yeah, probably. I mean, they all have probably done that at some point again. I mean, just read about the history of the royal family sometimes, and the modern history, post-World War II. And it's just affair after affair, controversy after controversy. Who was the king during World War II? Was it King Charles? Something like that? I don't remember. But he got the job because his brother ran off with some American actress or something like that and ended up being a Nazi supporter. Yep. So that must have been very awkward for them. I mean, if they can survive that, they can probably survive Meghan Markle.
Yeah. The reason that he had the throne when he ran off with the American actress wasn't because he ran off with the American actress. It was because she was a double divorcee, and the head of state, the monarch, is also like the Pope, for lack of a better term, of the Church of England. And getting with a divorcee is like taboo to be in that position. So,
speaking of Princess Diana, do you know what her and Pink Floyd have in common?
The Wall.
Their last hit was The Wall.
Jesus Christ.
This is the sort of reference for the royal family you get from the Token and Hobbs show. That's just the way it is. I gotta say though, it is kind of funny seeing Prince Harry go all in on this woke shit. Wasn't he the dude who, as a teenager, dressed as a Nazi to a Halloween party?
Yes.
That was it, right?
Yep. He dressed up like the full brown shirt uniform, the red armband, the swastika, the hat, everything. I mean, it wasn't like a cheap dime store costume, obviously, because he's fucking royalty. He can afford that sort of thing. But yeah, it was full blown. But this is also the same guy who, in the middle of an interview, while stationed in Afghanistan, because he was in the Royal Army, was in the middle of an interview and the sirens went off, and this dude was like, there we go, right there. We're probably going to get banned off YouTube for this one. But yeah, he looks like a fucking SS officer or whatever. But yeah, this is the guy that jumped up out of a chair during the middle of an interview to go to his attack helicopter. So this is a guy that's got like some serious Chad energy in his past, and now he's pussy whipped by Meghan Markle. So, like I said, like what does she have on him?
I don't know. Like I said, it could just be that he's part of the woke now. He honestly believes in that shit, and he's trying to cash in on woke bucks. Like, he has earned $1 million woke dollars with this. All right, you can't buy that, right? I mean, how it's amazing how you angle yourself as a victim, right? When you're a fucking prince and your wife is a fucking princess, and you're angling yourself as a victim to win mega woke dollars. It's amazing. It's an incredible thing, but you know what? God bless them for taking down the royal family of Peg. It's an American tradition that I hope goes forward in the future. Speaking of America, we have our own problems here. I think it's safe to say that this COVID pandemic is, I think Democrats want it to keep going, that they want this COVID thing to stick around as long as they can make it politically beneficial for it to exist. Like I don't think it's going to go away until the political benefits are no longer reaped by Democrats. Is that a fair assessment, do you think?
Yeah, it's a nice little distraction to keep everybody's mind off the fact that our president doesn't know where he's at half the time,
Yeah.
amongst other things.
He was doing like a press conference the other day where he was like, all right, I'm going to take questions now. And they just cut off his mic. So he couldn't take questions anymore.
Yeah, it was
the most hilarious, awkward thing.
Yeah, it was a Democrat caucus like Zoom meeting or something, and he's like, I guess I'll take some questions now if that's what you want me to do, Nance. And it's like, nope, cut it, no that. And they like, thanks for coming out. And it's like,
oh, we're not doing that. We're done. Okay, I guess we'll go home now. Oh, you got me pudding? I love pudding. I'm going to go play with my dogs. Oh, wait. I want to go play with my dogs. Oh, wait, no, my dogs are gone. They bit someone? Oh no.
I've got my own little conspiracy theory about that. You know, that
you do? Let's hear it.
Remember all the big hoopla they were making about, oh, Joe Biden adopted 2 shelter dogs and the first shelter dogs in the White House, and now that he's in the White House, the 2 dogs have their political usefulness it's over. They've used it up, and now get rid of the dogs.
To the shelter.
Yep, they're just like BLM activists, just like pandering to the female vote and the immigrant vote and everything like that. It's like, well, now that he's won, all those things that I promised you are sucker. I can't believe you fell for that.
Man, that would make these poor dogs the biggest victims of this whole thing. Poor things. Like, you think you're going to live in the White House, and then all of a sudden you're shipped off to God knows where.
I want them. I like dogs more than I like people, and they look like they're a couple of nice doggies, and I want them.
I mean, you'd have some cachet owning Joe Biden's old dogs.
Yeah. Joe Biden's German Shepherd has aggressive incident and is sent back to Delaware.
A fate worse than death, being sent to Delaware.
What even is a Delaware?
I don't know. It's a place, I hear. It's a location. I don't know where it's a mystical land far, far away. I don't think anyone has ever discovered it. It's kind of like El Dorado. The mythical state of gold of Delaware that no one has ever been to or heard from in 100 years. If you're from Delaware, sorry, but we just decided to make fun of your state for no reason. I'm sure it's a wonderful place that no one has ever been to.
Isn't it one of those places that people...
Says the Nebraskans.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it one of those places that people go to like watch the leaves change color or some weird shit like that? Some like that right there, I would say, is probably the white privilege that everyone's talking about. The ability to travel to New England to watch leaves change color.
I mean, it's probably one of those states that you can drive in and out of without even noticing that you were there. It's like living out here in the middle of the country. That's not a thing. You can't just drive in and out of a state in 10 minutes and not even realize it. It's like states out here are fucking huge and it takes hours to drive through them. But like I get out in the West Coast, out in the East Coast, we got like Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Delaware. You got these tiny little states. You wouldn't even notice if you pass right on through them. It's a weird thing. But I wanted to talk about COVID because I saw this headline in the Washington Examiner. Department of Homeland Security won't test thousands of migrants before releasing into U.S. and is relying on border communities. Now, if you guys don't know this, there are currently thousands of people coming over the southern border into the United States from Mexico. And you would think that the lockdown crazy Democrats would be aghast at this, because all these thousands of people are not staying home and not being safe, and are probably causing super spreader events everywhere they go. They're just running around the country willy-nilly, ignoring lockdown orders. But the thing is, when they're detained by Border Patrol, they're not even tested for COVID before being released into the country. So I just got to ask, if you really think that COVID is such a horrible, terrible crisis that necessitates us shutting down our businesses, it necessitates us locking ourselves in our homes for a year, losing our jobs, right? And it necessitates these $2 trillion spending bills that we keep passing every couple months. Why wouldn't you test people for COVID as they come over the southern border? Wouldn't that just be common sense?
Yeah, it really pokes holes in the this is the deadliest pandemic in American history, and we got to shut everything down. And like I said in our group chat, and I didn't really get a chance to expand on it. It really does give the white nationalist / white genocide / replacement migration conspiracy theorists a lot more ammunition to work with, because if hustling people across the border is more important than basic pandemic, safety protocols or whatever, then what's the end goal? How does this all tie together?
Yeah, right? and it's frustrating to see stuff like this, because in a logical, consistent world, and I know we don't live in that world and probably never will, but in a logical, consistent world, the people who are most afraid of COVID would be aghast at something like this going on. It'd be controversy of controversies. Oh my God, I can't believe you're letting thousands of people into this country without getting tested for COVID, right? And it's not like they have homes to go to, right? Many of these people, they might have family in this country. They might not have family in this country. Who knows where they're going? And if they do have family, they're going to go live with that family. And if they have COVID, super spreader, just like that. Just like we're told that these super spreaders always happen, right? And then immigrants come into this country. They need to find jobs. They need to go to work. They're not going to stay in home all day, because that's the whole reason they came here in the first place, to find work and make money. So that's what they're going to do. And more super spreaders. And you'd think the Branch Covidians would be the most aghast at something like this happening, but no, not a word about it. It's almost like all this fear mongering is very selective. Like they will come down hard on you, Mr. Citizen. They'll come down hard on you, Mr. Business Owner, on you, parent whose children can't go to school anymore. You need to make sacrifices. But immigrants coming into this country, not a word about that. It's a very odd disconnect.
Right, but it's really not a disconnect, because for the same reason that pedophile royal gets swept under the rug, but insinuating a racist royal is the biggest news story.
Right.
Criticize the illegal immigrants coming across the border, you're a racist, and that's the worst possible. That's original sin, man. That is possible thing that you could possibly be in current year, is accused of some type of racism or bigotry.
Yeah, it's really absurd. I mean, there's a million things I can think of that are worse than being mildly racist. But it's the mild racism that gets all the attention. Like, oh yeah, Prince Andrew raped children, but did you hear someone in the royal family was accused of mild racism? Ooh, that's a real bad thing. And did you know we're in the middle of a global pandemic? Millions of people are dying. We all need to stay locked in our homes. Oh, you mean to tell me that thousands of people are coming over the border and not being tested for COVID and going out into the community? Well, if you think that there's a disconnect here, you're just a horrible, no good, very big racist. And you need to be canceled along with all those Dr. Seuss books.
Excellent segue. I like that. That is way to just slide that one right in there.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about Dr. Seuss last week, but I don't know. I've been thinking about it this week too, and it's just, the absurdity of it just comes. It's just more apparent now than it was before. And what really annoys me is the gaslighting a lot of people on the political left, or who just have a mindset that's more sympathetic to the left. The gaslighting they'll do to try to convince you that cancel culture doesn't exist. I go, no, this cancel culture doesn't exist. So you're just being held accountable. Cancel culture doesn't exist. We're just trying to get you fired from your jobs and try to get you off social media and make it so that nobody can ever hear from you again. But cancel culture doesn't exist. I mean, how do we know that cancel culture exists? Well, we know cancel culture exists because freaking Antifa, Nebraska tried to cancel Mr. Congressman Hobbs over here. That's how we know it exists.
Right, yeah. And the argument that I'm hearing a lot, so asinine, so simplistic, much like everything that these people talk about. It's all black and white. There's no at all. Politics is a binary, but gender is a spectrum to these weirdos. And the argument that I always hear is, well, freedom of speech doesn't mean freedom from repercussions and consequences. And to that, I have to say that if repercussions and consequences to hearing an opinion that you don't like is violence, is doxing, is trying to ruin somebody's life utterly by cutting off their stream of income, or driving a wedge between them and their family and friends, or any of the other slimy shitbag tactics that these people used in their cancel culture crusades. If those are the repercussions to hearing an opinion you don't like, then the problem lies with you, because words are words, but you people are taking adamant actionable offenses against people. So I think that a little bit of introspection for you people is probably in order, if those are the consequences of freedom of speech, you fucking shysters.
And I had a little bit of a back and forth with Chris Spangle of the We Are Libertarians podcast. By the way, I love his podcast. Don't have anything bad to say about him, but he kind of has this mindset too that this cancel culture stuff doesn't exist. And he was like, well, Dr. Seuss regretted writing anti-Japanese cartoons during World War II, so he would agree with the woke culture canceled crowd today. I'm like, well, if that's the case, why didn't he tell his estate while he was alive that these 6 books that got canceled, that he didn't want them out there anymore? It's like with the Dr. Seuss thing, they try this weird tactic where they're like, oh, well, Dr. Seuss was a leftist back in his day, therefore he would agree with the woke crowd today. Like, no, they wouldn't. I mean, FDR was a leftist back in his day, and he locked up Japanese people, right? Is woke culture cool with that? Well, I mean, they still seem to love FDR, so maybe they would be cool with that. Yeah. Well, we're just waiting for the day FDR gets canceled too, because they've already canceled Abe Lincoln. I don't know if you knew about this, but there were some California schools getting renamed, and Abe Lincoln had to, his name had to come down from schools because he hadn't demonstrated that Black Lives mattered to him. That was the actual reason given.
Oh yeah,
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, 600,000 American deaths in a war that spanned several years, and keeping the Union together over abolishing slavery. Yeah, that just
fuck that guy. I mean,
I'm
yes,
no fan of Lincoln.
Fuck that guy, but not for that reason.
Yeah, not for that reason. I'm no fan of Lincoln. I think he's one of the most overrated presidents that we've ever had in history. But
probably the most overrated president in history.
Yeah, habeas corpus is important.
No,
and that's
no,
all.
It's not.
That's all. That's all I'm gonna.
Now, habeas corpus is about. No, we don't need that shit. We don't need habeas corpus at all. That can go away. We need to cancel it, along with Abe Lincoln and Dr. Seuss.
Yep.
But yeah, it is annoying though, and yeah, I realize that the Dr. Seuss thing is kind of silly, but it's kind of not at the same time. Because like a month ago, nobody was offended by Dr. Seuss.
Right.
Nobody was thinking, "Oh, Dr. Seuss, these 6 Dr. Seuss books, these are super bad. We need to get rid of them and make sure that nobody sees them." And by the way, eBay has decided to pull from their site people who are trying to sell those 6 books.
Yeah, you
So
can
it's
still
like
buy
it's not.
you still buy a used copy of Mein Kampf.
Yeah,
but
you
but fuck you if you want to get green eggs and ham.
Yeah, if you want to buy If I Ran the Zoo by Dr. Seuss on eBay, nope, can't do it. They're taking it down because it's very bad. But that's just the thing about it. Like I said a month ago, nobody was offended by these books until they were told to be offended by them.
Yeah.
Like no one was sitting around here going, "Oh, Dr. Seuss, super, super bad." No, not even anyone talking about it until the Dr. Seuss estate decided, "Hey, these books are super bad and offensive," and then everyone's like, "Yes, they're super bad and offensive. I agree with that. Take them down immediately." eBay, don't let people sell these books anymore. It's like, what are people going to be told to be offended by tomorrow?
I got an even better question than that. Who is telling these people to be offended by this ever-growing list of silliness? Is this something that's just kind of like springing up organically? Is there some type of brain trust that's just poring over historical documents and books trying to look for grievances? Is this really some like very, very elaborate 8chan prank that people are like very deep diving in there, just like, next week, Dr. Seuss. We're going to get Dr. Seuss canceled for the lulz just to see if we can.
There is some truth to that. I mean, over at Disney, they actually have a council of people who go through all of Disney's properties to try to find anti-woke shit to complain about. That's their job. That's their reason for being employed at Disney, to tell Disney how problematic they are. I mean, and I realize there's probably a lot of material to work with considering the kind of guy Walt Disney himself was.
Yeah,
but I mean, if you're actively out there looking to be offended where no one has been offended before, you're gonna find it's the final frontier of offense. To boldly be offended where no man has ever been offended before. They're gonna find that problematic properties over at Disney and make sure that you know about it. Like you can't even have like Dumbo on a children's playlist on Disney Plus anymore because it's just so terrible.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Is silly, guys. It's silly.
I don't even remember like what it would be in Dumbo that was
the crows.
The crows. Okay, I was just saying it's the crows. Yeah, those jive turkey crows.
I mean, that's the thing about it. As adults, you can be like, "Oh yeah, the crow. Okay, I see that." But as a kid, you're watching, you're like, "Look, funny crows. I like them."
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
You only get the reference as an adult. Like
right.
Dumbo isn't making kids into racists, right? Yeah. It's just a silly movie about a flying elephant to a kid. As an adult, you might be like, okay, yeah, I can see what you're talking about. But they're talking like, oh, yeah, we can't let kids see this without a warning. It's like kids are probably the least susceptible to anything like that. I wouldn't even worry about them.
So we got a couple of things down here in the comments. So Lindsay, Dumbo and Jungle Book, two of her favorites. Yeah, like I watched Jungle Book like every other day when I was a kid. I loved that movie when I was like 3, 4, 5 years old. And I'm assuming that it's something to do with King Louis and the orangutans that are the reason that because for the same reason that these people read racism into things like World of Warcraft, like orcs represent black people. It's like, no, they don't. I'm assuming they're probably going to say that the orangutans represent black people, and it's like that's on you, man. If you think
Yeah, that's
monkeys are black
so.
people.
What you're telling
That's
me
on
is you think
dude.
that black people look like. So what you're telling me is you think that black people look like monkeys, huh?
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm not amused by your casual racism.
No. Let's see. Roy Fitz Jr. here says, "Quick question. I know most libertarians are anti-war, and you guys are veterans. Thank you for your service. Do you think we should defend Taiwan from China if they invade?"
I would ask this question in response: are you willing to die in defense of Taiwan? Are you willing to have your children die in defense of Taiwan? Are you willing to see New York turn into be destroyed by nuclear fire to defend Taiwan? Is China is a nuclear power, right?
Yeah.
I'm not willing to have any of those things happen to defend Taiwan. So that's my take on it.
It's a real.
I am willing to die to defend the United States. I'm not willing to die to defend Taiwan.
Yeah, it's a really, really tricky question because the PRC split, if you really want to go back to it, is our fault though. At the end of World War II, we were supposed to give some assistance to the Chiang Kai-shek's Chinese Republicans, and instead of giving them the assistance that we promised, we left them out to dry. They fled to Taiwan, declared Taiwan is the Republic of China. Mainland China became the People's Republic of China, and that's how it's been up to this day. However, at the same time, man, that's the other side of the world. It's not really any of our business. I know that Taiwan would get absolutely steamrolled by the PRC, and I feel really bad for that.
Like name a city in Taiwan.
Taipei.
Okay, there you go. I'll give you that. Name a second city in Taiwan.
I don't know. I don't even think Taiwan's big enough to have much more than one large city. It's a tiny island. It's a tiny island.
It's bigger than Delaware, right? I think Delaware has more than one city. I think I've never been. No one's ever been there, so who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, but no, I wouldn't want to get into a war with China. And here's the thing about it: China's flexing its muscle now because they're feeling invincible. China's economy is also built on a house of cards, right? It's not this stable super economic power like people are thinking about it right now. And remember, China falls apart every 100 years anyway. So we just got to wait for that to happen again. Like the history of China is a history of unification and just breaking apart again, right? That's China throughout all the history. So you just got to wait for that to happen.
Yeah. In the meantime, I would highly recommend some more, God forbid, nationalistic approaches to our own economy and kind of softly separating our manufacturing dependence on cheap Chinese labor and bring it a little closer to home.
If you really want Taiwan to be able to hold up China, give them nukes. Seriously, if you want Taiwan to have guaranteed security without risking American lives, give them a dozen nukes, right? And see if China invades them. See what happens. China would never invade a nuclear armed Taiwan for the same reason why the United States would never invade a nuclear armed Iran, because the risk is just too great.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, you can have all the anti-ballistic missiles defenses pointed at Taiwan you want, but you never know. One might get through anyway.
Yep.
Right? And then you just lost 10 million people.
Yep. And even if all you have is one nuclear missile, you could have 100 or 200 not nuclear missiles and launch them all at once, and one of them is going to slip through, and chances would be pretty good it's the nuclear one. Excuse me. It's the nuclear one that gets through.
Yeah, so I'm like, there's a reason why World War III never happened. There's a reason why the United States and the Soviet Union never went to war. It's because both sides were armed with nuclear weapons, right? If just the Soviet Union or just the United States had nuclear weapons, or if neither had nuclear weapons, a war probably would have happened.
Yep.
Right? So, mutually assured, I mean, that's a big reason why Pakistan and India never actually gone to war with each other. At least, since the split up of the country, It's because they both have nuclear weapons. They're never going to invade each other because the risk is just too great. So yeah, if you want Taiwan to be defended, let them have nukes. I'm sure they'd be able to discover nuclear weapons on their own without us giving them a dozen nuclear warheads.
Oh yeah. The problem is that Taiwan is it's so small, it's so isolated. They're good people over there. I know a guy from Taiwan. They're good people. They're very pro-West, pro-American, very anti Xi Jinping and anti-communists. Obviously, given the history, they are. In the grand scheme of things, they're one of the countries I think that probably could be trusted with a small nuclear arsenal.
Okay, before we go, I do want to talk about this hilarious tweet that Burger King sent out on International Women's Day. Did you see it?
Oh, not only did I see it, I laughed quite heartily.
Okay, so the first tweet was women belong in the kitchen, and they followed that up with if they want to, of course, yet only 20% of chefs are women. We're on a mission to change the gender ratio in the restaurant industry by empowering female employees with the opportunity to pursue a culinary career. First of all, I think it's hilarious how Burger King's pretending that working for Burger King is a pathway towards a culinary career. But I gotta say, there you go. Women belong in the kitchen.
Based in Redfield, Burger King. Based in Redfield.
It's so hilarious to see attempted wokeness just blow up in your face because the neon energy directed at Burger King after this was just fantastic. Like, I saw that tweet, I couldn't believe it. Like, I'm just scrolling through my feed and I saw them like, that has to be a joke account. And then I saw the blue check mark. I'm like, someone had to hack them. This can't be real. And then I checked the thread. I'm like, oh, Burger King's trying to be woke, and the wokesters are giving them hell for it. I'm like, this is beautiful. Bravo.
Yeah, they shouldn't have split that up into two tweets. That was their mistake because a lot of people saw the first tweet and didn't see the follow-up, and that is where they fucked up. But yeah, like Burger King is insufferably woke, like just awful, god awful, and their food is anyways. It's cheap, but it's trash. And these are the people that put their chicken fries in a pink box and like an extra $1 for it as some type of like experiment in the so-called pink tax that women's hygiene products cost more than men's.
And every time I go to the Burger King in Bellevue, it takes 30 minutes to get my food, and the order is always wrong. It's because they have it's because they don't have enough female employees over there. That's the reason.
Exactly.
That's why they need to make sure more females have culinary degrees so they can work at Burger King.
Mm-hmm.
Because women belong in the kitchen. And I think we'll let it go at that. Hobbs, you got anything planned for Friday?
Nope, couldn't get anybody. I don't know. Maybe we'll just have a bullshit session. Ben, if he's around, I think I told him to pull up a picture for one of our regular viewers. Sent us a picture wearing our Boog Girl T-shirt. Lindsay, there you go. There's your moment to shine. Thanks for sending us the picture with the shirt. Looks great. It is a good-looking shirt. I have one in gray. It is very comfortable. So thank you for that.
All right, everyone. Well, that's going to be it for us. Remember to like us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on the Twitter. We're also on MeWe and Parlor. So get on that. We'll see you next week on another episode of Token Hobbs. Have a good night, everybody.